Hello, and welcome to this special interview with Marketing Brew. My name is Alyssa Meyers. I'm a senior reporter here, and I am joined by...
I'm telling you right now, nobody in the hood is playing soccer.
Enjoy life, bro.
FIFA World Cup 2026 tickets have been hard to come by. I've partnered with Dove Men Plus Care, an official sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 2026, to give you all a chance to win tickets to the major event.
Yes, Raheem Taylor-Parkes here, content host of Football Co., Goal USA, and also the co-host of The Late Run with Chad Ochocinco.
A lot of stuff. Raheem, give us a little bit more specific on the type of content that you create on your channels.
Yes, so I create soccer content specifically. Obviously, growing up playing soccer my whole entire life, I wanted to make soccer be the biggest sport in America. You know, seeing the NFL, the NBA, how influential it is to the culture of America, whether it's, music, whether it's fashion, just seeing all these other aspects that sports tie into. I really just want soccer to kind of have that mainstream impact that these sports have as well.
You said you played soccer your whole life. How did you end up from that, kicking around being a player to making a career out of soccer content?
Yeah, honestly, it's actually an insane story. So I feel like I lived so many lives throughout my career. So I went to the University of Virginia for 2 years, where I played on their men's soccer team. And then I went to Oregon State, where I transferred for 2 years. Following not making it to the MLS draft in 2019 or 2020, I really wanted to figure out what my next option was. So actually, I started to do some practice podcast episodes that I ended up doing. And two of the people that I ended up doing the episodes with were Chris Richards of Crystal Palace and Joshua Zirkzee of Manchester United currently. So that was my first podcast episode. And I actually used that episode to send to different brands, who were looking for a potential host to make soccer content leading into the World Cup because I knew it was coming up. So I reached out to two brands. One of them is the one that I work for now, Goal USA. And then the other one was actually the Players Tribune. Goal came back. They had me go on a trip to England to do some content with some players that I knew from my, experience playing as a pro. So I basically sorted the entire interview from getting the players on to getting them on set to making sure that they were good. We did the content over in England and we did 16 million views across 10 reels. So I came back home, finally, had a freelance offer from them to work, part-time around different events going around the U.S. for the year of from 2023 of October all the way up until July of 2024. Then when July came, the Copa America was a big tournament here in the U.S. It was kind of the precursor to the World Cup. And that month of content that I ended up doing for Goal as a freelancer throughout that month of the Copa America tournament ended up doing 60 million views from June to July. So then once they said that, they're like, Raheem, we want you to here full time in New York. And I was finally, able to fulfill my dream of, going from living in Tampa, delivering food, figuring everything out to, being the content creator and host that I am today.
Oh, you're blowing my mind with all the content stats. And even with the soccer, playing in college is no joke. I made it to mediocrity in high school and now my 7v7 rec league, and that's about it. So I can't imagine.
I could imagine. Now, I just love it. I love when people just play the game in general. So I'm just happy you even tapped in.
Yeah. It's so fun. And that's something else that I want to talk about is this idea with soccer being such an accessible sport, right? I feel like we hear that a lot. It's something that you can pick up pretty easily, a lot of grassroots connections. Do you think about that when you're sort of approaching content, brainstorming, creating all the stuff you're creating? How influenced are you by the fact that probably a lot of people who are watching, listening, play soccer themselves?
Listen, football's the global game, or soccer, as we say in America, is the global game. If you're really trying to reach an audience that goes from Africa to South America to the U.S. to Asia and connects all these countries, soccer's the number one sport to do that. And I recognized that early that, if I wasn't going to be making it as a professional player, I could at least have an impact on the growth of the game from a cultural landscape. So when I look at Instagram and what I'm looking at within the space, I really like to look at what's popular in media right now. How could I use my personality and basically implement what's going on in the culture, whether it's, music, whether it's, fashion, whether it's, even funny things. I know, for example, Arsenal's my favorite soccer team, for example. And last week I released like a cool little Instagram reel where it was like how Arsenal fans are being treated like now that we're winning and like, or like how and basically that video got like over 200,000 likes because so many people related to this soccer team and have a passion for the club. But it's like these people are nationwide or worldwide, I may say. And I'm like getting comments from people in Cameroon, getting comments from people in Nigeria, getting comments from people in London. So soccer really is this sport where like you see through the content yourself. Like you're appealing to an audience that's worldwide.
You're saying the buzzwords a bunch: worldwide, global, World Cup. I want to talk about that. What have you seen so far this year in terms of growth of the fandom or growth of your following tied to the World Cup? Is that sort of boosting things?
Yes, absolutely. I think a lot of growth has come from, currently hosting the show alongside Chad Ochocinco, which is a notable figure within American landscape. He is in the NFL for over 12 seasons, and he had such a big passion for soccer, which nobody knew about. So it was like, when you add that with my expertise in knowing about the game and my personality, we've been able to just curate and create a show that's been having on the likes of Rick Ross. We just recorded with Rob Gronkowski. We released with Stephen A. Smith last week. So it's been incredible to get these people who are normally not associated with soccer or the sport, but to get even their stories on like how they got into the sport. Like Stephen A. got his start writing for soccer for Wake Forest while he was a student going to Winston-Salem State. So a lot of people don't know these stories, how these people interacted with the sport, and that's something that I always wanted to tell. And I just think that you're starting to see soccer just hit full throttle now. I mean, the big, massive Adidas advertisement with Timothée Chalamet last week was incredible because I feel like that taps into that mainstream culture as well as with the beautiful game, and Timothée has a big passion for it. And that's how you're just able to grow the sport, because you're able to just tap into those little aspects of life where someone might not be a fan of soccer, but they might see it on their algorithm because they love Timothée Chalamet, and all of a sudden now they want to go to a World Cup game, and then that's how they become fans. So that's what we really want to do at the end of the day, and that's my goal, is to really convert these people from casuals to true fans.
That is so well said. A couple of things I want to hit on there. The first one is when you mentioned converting into true fans. I feel like part of that is probably making sure that these are people who are going to continue watching in whatever vein, whether it's Premier League, MLS, whatever team they want to follow after the national teams play, after the World Cup. So what's your sort of strategy or approach to making sure that this is lasting fandom and not just a moment this summer?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing is that getting other people who aren't involved in soccer a part of the culture is the most important thing, and that's how it's going to live on beyond the World Cup. Because you're right, like once that final whistle hits, what happens to soccer in America? The good news is that we're on such an amazing track. We're producing players that are playing in Europe at the highest rate we've ever have. The development in America is being so successful. We're producing so many young players who are now making an impact overseas. So then now that gives people or kids who are now playing like kind of like a standpoint to kind of look at, to be like, oh, I could play in MLS at 16 or 17 and go overseas and have an impact, and the next kid who's watching me could look up to me and want to aspire to be that someday. And I think that representation at the next level is so important. And I think as well as that, if we're able to see someone do it before, if you're able to see that someone is able to achieve it, it just makes it a lot easier. And that's why I'm so happy that a lot of the guys that I ended up playing with, Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, these guys are the stars of today. And it's incredible because I feel like the other day we were 14-year-olds going to youth national team camps, and now we're kind of changing a generation, whether it's on the field or off the field on a mic.
Truly amazing. And we hit on, I think, some of these big stars, big names, even outside of soccer, that help grow the sport and grow the fandom. You mentioned another little element too, which I think is the brands. You talked about the Adidas ad. What are you seeing on that front in terms of like interest in soccer and in your content from potential sponsors?
Yes, so working for Football Co., I get to best of both worlds because I see the creator landscape as well as seeing what's going on behind the scenes with all the brands, because we work with them and partner with them. So what I've been seeing from a lot of brands is a lot of money being invested in the sport of soccer leading into the World Cup, a lot of projects coming up, and even, if World Cup ticket prices are too expensive, you're still able to live through these events, through these experiential events that a lot of brands are having. And what I love about what a lot of the brands are doing as well is that they're not just focusing on the soccer element, not just having watch parties. They're doing cool activations, where you could, for example, see a fashion collection. Like Kid Super is a big soccer fan, so maybe, Jameson and Kid Super have been doing a lot of things around the city, and they're actually doing an event next week with Christian Pulisic. So it's like all these little events and all these little moments that people could come together and just be around the sport. I think that's the biggest part of it. It's like, if you've never been to a soccer game before, you're not going to sit down and watch a 90-minute game. But if your homegirls were like, hey, we're going to go to a bar real quick, watch a World Cup game, you want to get a drink and join, then it's like, of course I want to go, So I think it's all about the moments and experiences that you have while you're watching the game, and that makes it so much worth it.
That's so true. And I love talking about those experiences, fashion partnerships. What is something else maybe that you wish brands, CMOs knew more about the soccer space or soccer creators?
I just wish they knew how influential it really was, because especially in America, we kind of have this landscape where it's like, if it's not the Super Bowl, if it's not the NBA playoffs, then like surely it can't be bigger than those two sports. And we kind of get caught in our American societal bubble where like we think that everything that we do is bigger than the rest of the world. But it's like, soccer is just such a big sport, and it's so global, and so many people have a passion for it that like, for these brands, it makes sense to be involved in the sport, because you're not going to get a bigger, in the NBA and NFL, it's big in America, but you're not going to get the same overall landscape that you get with soccer, for example. So I wish these brands were just able to tap in and realize that, look, soccer's here and it's here to stay and it's growing in America. So you really want to use it to your advantage. And the best part of it is that you don't need to have a soccer event to have it tap into the space. It could be soccer and fashion, soccer and music, like all these other subcultures that we talked about. And that could make a noticeable impact on your brand just as much as, you know, what's popular in America as well.
So true. So well said. Last question for you. Do you have either a dream brand or partner that you would want to work with, or just a type of brand, a category? I think we talked about like alcohol, footwear, or snacks, something like that you want to see more of in soccer.
Absolutely. So I have two of them actually. So one of them is my favorite club, Arsenal FC. So I've never did any content with my favorite club, so I'd love to do something with them sometime. And one thing that I love about Arsenal is that they do a lot of collaboration. So like they did a dope one with Places and Faces. You know, they do a lot of things within London. They did one as well with A Cold Wall, another fashion brand. So like they're really tapping into what's popular in UK culture and what's popular in like fashion culture, and really creating these collaborations that also make sense and that feel authentic. Another big brand that I would love to collaborate with on the apparel space in like an event or doing something cool would be like a Nike or Adidas for sure, because I just feel like cultural identity when it comes to the beautiful game, like those are the two brands that are just synonymous with soccer at the end of the day. My favorite players, you know, from Cristiano Ronaldo to R9 to Lionel Messi to Lamine Yamal today, like they all wore Nike and Adidas. So working with a brand like that is like your stamp to be like, hey, like I did something dope. I've hosted like, you know, some discussions with Nike and Adidas, but to work with them in like a specialized capacity where like we're putting something on together and doing something for the culture of the game, that would be amazing.
Oh, so cool. Well, I hope that that works out for you. Shoot your shot, Nike and Adidas.
Hey, they're watching this. They know what's up. Yeah. They got my number. They got my number.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate your time.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.